Hello, my name is Sarah Brock-Contreras. I'm a graduate student with the School of Natural Resources. I manage a lot of the day-to-day for Know Your Well, and I'm very excited to be working on the third year of the app development for the Know Your Well program. So just to introduce ourselves, who is Know Your Well? We are a statewide citizen science program for domestic well water quality monitoring. We work in high school classrooms all across Nebraska, training students to sample and test local well water. 88% of Nebraskans rely on groundwater for their daily water use. And so we partner with local institutions like NRDs, extension health districts, four-year colleges to support hands-on learning and application of water chemistry in Nebraska ag and science classrooms. This is the third year of app development. So I wanted to start by doing a tour of the progress that previous years and teams have made. Mark Miesarch will talk more about the technical specifications and outcomes as he gets to his part. But to begin, Know Your Well app, the data collection app, operates as a PWA, so it's available on multiple platforms and can be downloaded onto portable devices, phones, tablets, to be used in the field like an actual app. Students log in with their school credentials using the Nebraska Cloud Federation, which is housed through the Nebraska Department of Education, and verifies the students through single sign-on. I've already logged in for today, so we'll just jump into creating a new well. Students begin by starting a new well, filling out the required information, and hitting submit, which goes back to the database. Once information is generated or sent to the database, it generates a well code. I'm going to do this example with data I actually collected from something this summer. Each school is assigned their own three-letter code, and then these three numbers are generated by the well ID and the database. This helps anonymize well owner information and also makes data collection and sample reporting uniform. When they're ready to go out into the field, where they may or may not have some kind of internet or data connection, they can hit the field button. The field form automatically collects geolocation information. Students also collect quantitative information and qualitative information through a survey and will submit that data to the database. It would be very, very useful in the future to have information like a tooltip or some kind of expandable field that describes what students are looking for. Many students have never seen well heads or well covers before, and so having that information is useful to them. Once students submit their field information, they go back to the class and run a series of tests. They select which date that they used. Sometimes students go back to the same well multiple times within a year or over the course of multiple years. So they select the date that the sample was taken, and then they report their findings for things like ammonia, bacteria, including E. coli, iron, nitrate, etc. Previous information can be found here very easily if they're looking for just one date out of many, or if they're looking for all of the data that they've collected. Students can export data, and that will export only the data that that school has entered. But that's an easier way for them to look at trends across all of their data. And now I'll turn it over to Mark Miesarch to talk about the technical background.
Hi, I'm Mark Miesarch. I'm with the School of Natural Resources, and I bring my database background and some user experience background to the Know Your Well project. So we're going to talk about some specs, the technical specifications. Yes, it is a progressive web application. All of our resources are stored in an Azure account. So we have an app services for the production site and also a test site. We have a Microsoft SQL database, and then we're using an Azure Blob for our image storage. The development team will be given access to these resources as we've had done in the past. The previous two development teams have used the back end, the app serving with Node.js, and the front end using React, serving that node using ASP.NET and C# as programming languages. The sponsor team can access the data through Azure Data Portal or SQL Data Portal, and also the Azure site to see the images. And Access database has also been set up so that they can interact with the data. So the previous development team was able to initiate a image capture and storage along with annotation of these images, but it was associated with another part of the app, the field activity form, and we'd like to see that now as a separate entity like the field activity or classroom activity, so that we can address different things other than just images of the wellhead, and that we may be able to capture the consent form or image release forms that are paper forms or electronic forms. So the next thing is, as Sarah has said, that the offline capability. When the high school students go to collect water samples from these wells, they may go to multiple wells over time without ever having internet connectivity. And so the app has to be able to store those individual wells, both the data and the images for those wells, and then be able to upload that when we do get internet connectivity again. The next thing is the high school students do get some training about how to collect that data, but when they're actually in the field, it would be nice if they would be able to have a way to go back and see some of the steps that they might have to follow to collect that data, or if there's words that they don't remember the definitions for, be able to pop those up and see a definition for a word or a task. The last thing is that when a person uses the app and logs in, they will then be able to see the wells that their school is associated with, but it'll be a list of wells. And what we'd like to be able to see is a GIS map of those wells, so we can see where the wells are located. Maybe that where there might be a area that they'd like to see if we can find another well to fill in a thing, but then to be able to go then into the app and actually work with the field activity or the collecting an image or classroom activity. The last thing is that when the development team does a major release, we would like to see a video of the entire process, workflow process of collecting data. So they log in, then we'd like to see them enter a new well, see a field activity, a classroom lab activity, collecting an image, see all of those processes so we know that what is working and what's not working. It also, we have such a short time in our sponsor meetings that it would be good to see that full demonstration in a video. It doesn't have to be polished, just quick video. All right, so we have a reliable PWA that's secure. The last group worked with that authentication portion. We said about the data storage while you're not online, and then be able to upload when the internet is available. Preliminary data validation has also been added already, but we want to make sure that it's uniform across all the different pieces. And again, we're just creating an app that's fairly intuitive how it works, but allows the user to be able to ask some questions while they're collecting data. We hope that we find this interesting, and then we hope to see you on our development team this fall.